Despite the nice visuals and sounds, everything stops being interesting once you've memorized the enemy's moves. Even on the hard levels, I've been wiping enemies clean like nobody's business, and half the time it feels like an underachievement. Not only that, my pal, but the enemies attack me when half the time their choices for defense are nothing but cheap shots. Oh, my mommy. And since there's fewer levels in Altered Beast compared to Super Mario Brothers from the Nintendo Entertainment System, this Genesis title ought to be despised. Audio is better through the red, white, and yellow cables, although the improvement doesn't help Altered Beast. In fact, different sound effects in the game resemble those for a lower Game Boy Color game, and I can't find reason to enjoy the fighting arcade program beyond the gimmick. Wow, a man turned into a werewolf. Oh, sarcasm. My Genesis computer doesn't control the enemies very well either. Often I'm just kicking or punching enemies since they've been more repetitive than a cube of butter. It hurts, man. What's all this? Breakfast? The altered beast is weaker in the fourth world than in the first world? How is that possible? In the fourth level, you're given this ineffective high and low dashing maneuver, although you're supposed to be the relentless were-tiger dude. Oh, once we've overcome the human to animal transformation, the Sega Genesis takes a nosedive, not for the better, and the gameplay will be so repetitive to anyone with a 2-year college degree, I'll bet. Just as long as we've had experience in video games, this Genesis lackluster won't appeal much on taste and reason. In the hard section for the second world, I've beat the red-eyed monster in 2 seconds. Give me a break. Obviously, this Genesis arcade port was made as a joke with regards to the first world voice. Why from the grave? Says Zeus. The repetitive levels, the eyeless Athena, or how do you say it, the pointless green dragon who electrocutes everything in its path, the werecat who can't attack without airborne obstacles, the werewolf who covers the whole screen, it seems, etc. Not to mention the werebear who spins the Sonic the Hedgehog, who spins like Sonic the Hedgehog, literally, a game on the Genesis that's more complicated and special than Altered Beast? What? Since it suits perfection and eventual restoration of lives that the game in question shows nothing of, I'll usually find myself dying only because I didn't get any health potions or life enhancers other than the stupid, incredibly cliche beast morphing orbs of Zeus. And why does Zeus look like Santa Claus Ho, 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 ho. Altered Beast is an unproductive game that lacks creativity and ought to be substituted with Sonic the Hedgehog. Trust me, I'm severely frustrated. Yeah. Have you ever played a video game that is silly like this, like a silly video game, or like a really funny or hilarious or silly video game that makes you respond to it with like a voice of mockery? Like, have you ever done like a kind of negative voice acting in your own private home when you're playing a video game that is like really, really stupid or retarded or something like that? When that happens, then that means that you are no longer immersed in the purpose of the fantasy, and instead you're mocking it and acting against it and pretending that you have more imagination than the game does. And when that happens, that's basically the death of the fantasy and, the end of the story. And Altered Beast for the Sega Genesis is like that, where it's like even the fans of this game kind of treat this game as if like, oh, this is just a game where you just go around and you know do mashups and those kinds of things. This basically is what I would, in the end, just call a treat, like a cheap, thrilling monster mash with little to no thought about it afterwards. Take care and happy holidays. Yeah.